Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. In the high-end smartphone market above $600, Huawei, Apple, and Samsung basically occupy the vast majority of the market share. In the Chinese market, Huawei and Apple compete equally. Therefore, whether in the international market or the Chinese market, Huawei is a strong competitor to Apple. After Huawei was sanctioned and suppressed by the United States, its mobile phone shipments plummeted from 200 million units at its peak to 30 million units. After the shipment volume plummeted, Huawei vacated a large number of high-end smartphone markets, and Apple also benefited from this and gained a wave of growth in both revenue and profit. What is true is that it confirms the saying Huawei falls, Apple is full. But what people didn't expect was that the United States launched 4 rounds of sanctions against Huawei, starting from multiple fields such as chips, operating systems, and electronic components. However, it did not completely defeat Huawei. After 3 years of sanctions, Huawei returned strongly. Recently, Huawei started selling Huawei Mate 60 series mobile phones without holding a press conference or conducting any warm-up. Although Huawei is very low-key, it has still attracted the attention of many media, related companies, and industry insiders at home and abroad. Although Huawei has not disclosed the chip problem of the Mate 60 mobile phone yet, disassembly and testing by some testing agencies and laboratories still prove that the chip of the Huawei Mate 60 Pro is a domestically produced advanced process chip. Not only that, some people tested the network speed of Huawei Mate 60 Pro and found that the network speed of Huawei Mate 60 Pro is slower than most 5G mobile phones on the market. The estimated shipment volume of Huawei's Mate 60 series mobile phones has reached more than 15 million units, which means that Huawei has basically solved the supply chain problems of chips and electronic components. We can also learn from Huawei's recent revelations that Huawei's Mate 60 series mobile phones basically do not use any electronic components provided by American companies. Huawei's strong return has made Apple very uncomfortable. In addition, Apple's recently released iPhone 15 can be said to be without sincerity. The behavior of spending more than an hour introducing the frame and glass material at the press conference is enough to prove that this iPhone 15 it's really like what some people in the industry said before. There are almost no changes except the serial number. Previously, many consumers ridiculed Apple's mobile phones as squeezing out toothpaste, but now Apple can't even squeeze out toothpaste. Judging from Apple's financial report data in the past few quarters, sales and profits have plummeted in all Apple regions, and the only one that has achieved growth is Greater China. Now that Apple is facing changes in the sales environment in the Chinese market and the strong return of competitors, there is no doubt that Apple's sales and profits in the Chinese market will decline in the coming period. Not long ago, Apple's market value evaporated by about $200 billion. After Apple's iPhone 15 conference, the market value dropped by another $50 billion. Judging from the decline in market value, the capital market has begun to take a pessimistic view of Apple in the coming period. Faced with this kind of internal and external troubles, Apple has also begun to look for solutions. According to the latest news, Apple said it is considering using Yangtze Memory's flash memory chips in iPhones released in the Chinese market. In recent years, Apple has been working hard to decouple from China. It has not only transferred its production capacity in China to India, Southeast Asia, and other regions, and brought a number of OEMs such as Foxconn and Wistron to India to build factories. It has also transferred a large number of Chinese companies from kicked out of Apple's supply chain. There is no doubt that Apple is also worried that the US sanctions on Huawei will happen to Apple, and that China will also impose sanctions on Apple, so it is trying its best to get rid of its dependence on the Chinese supply chain. Under this situation, Apple suddenly stated that it would list Yangtze Memory as one of Apple's flash memory suppliers, which was a gesture of goodwill to the Chinese market. Yangtze Memory is China's top memory chip company and the first company in the world to implement more than 200 layers of memory chips. Although the international memory chip market is dominated by South Korea's Samsung and SK Hynix, the United States Micron and Western Digital, and Japan's Kioxia, Yangtze Memory is not inferior to these companies in terms of advanced technology, but it is only affected due to the restrictions on production capacity and the US chip ban. Its influence and market share in the international market is not large. The news that Apple was considering using Yangtze Memory's flash memory chips aroused strong dissatisfaction in the US Congress. The US Congress directly stated that if Apple uses Yangtze Memory's flash memory chips, the US Congress will launch a strict review of Apple. McCall, the Foreign Affairs Chief of the U.S. House of Representatives, said, "This will help China obtain the transfer of knowledge and technology." This sentence is actually a slander that China will take this opportunity to obtain American technology. The People's Daily once called for, if China wants to reduce its dependence on Apple's supply chain, it needs to pay attention to the advantages of domestic brands, and domestic brands should also improve their competitiveness. It is essential to develop core technologies no matter what. Only in this way can we avoid being choked by the United States. Thank you for watching this video. Please write down your ideas in the comment.